welcome to my channel. Today I'm so excited to share with you 7 habits of highly effective people that I have learned and implemented. Now these habits stem from a book written by Stephen Covey, and if you haven't read the book, I'm going to link it below because I highly recommend the read, but I'm going to go through the 7 habits so that you can implement them today. So the first habit is all about being proactive. Now what I mean by this is being proactive in any situation rather than being reactive. We're in charge of our life and the decisions that we make as part of it. We choose to write the scripts by which we live our lives. Covey's approach is all about trying to be proactive in terms of any situation and trying to look at things that are in our control that we can do to make the situation better, rather than looking at the situation as a whole and blaming everything else around it that is not going our way. So for instance, if you have a task that is just not going your way, rather than thinking negatively about that task and thinking to yourself that I'm just not going to be able to actually achieve it, the better approach is to be more proactive and think about the things that we're feeling and trying to be proactive with a certain area of that task to try and get a little bit more further in terms of completing it. So the second habit is one that I absolutely love and I live by. It's all about beginning with the end in mind. The reason why I love this habit is because often life gets in the way and we become so busy in terms of our workloads and our life at home that we just forget about the more important things that mean something to us. So by this I mean your goals, your dreams, all of the things that you want to achieve. Often these goals and targets just get left behind. The reason why I love beginning with the end in mind as a habit is because it's taught me to really look and focus on my goal and plan around it. By asking yourself things like, what are your goals? What are you looking to achieve? And what are you working towards? Can really just hone in on your aspirations and your intentions and just work towards the goals that you really want to achieve. Often we're working so hard to achieve that goal and we don't stop and think and evaluate whether that's something that we actually want to achieve. Is it an area that we actually want to progress in? Is it a route of progression that your company can provide you with? Or is it an area of work that really interests you? By starting with the beginning in mind, it will give you clarity in actually what you want to achieve. It really does help you have a clear aim of what you actually want to achieve so that you can track your progress and make sure that you're aligned and doing the right things to get into that. Another thing that I do is write down my goals, and I always write down my personal goals and my career goals and any other goals that I have around it. I always write down 3 to 5 goals because I think that's a really nice number to achieve. And I always write down my short term, my long term and then my medium term goals. And I make sure that I'm planning around these goals and implementing how I'm going to actually achieve them. The third habit that I've learned is all about putting first things first. What I mean about putting first things first is often we get so consumed with dealing with tasks throughout the day that we don't often put the most important things to us first. So what I mean by this is that often when we have tasks that we're doing throughout the day, we forget to prioritize these in terms of importance rather than urgency. So a great way to prioritize your tasks is to split your tasks into 4 different categories. 1 being non-urgent and not important. 2 being urgent and very important. 3 being non-urgent and important. And 4th being important and not urgent. Sometimes when you're focusing so much on the urgent and important tasks, they can just create a lot of stress and a lot of tension because you're having to complete lots of different tasks under pressure. And again, if we focus on tasks that are urgent but not important, then we're spending most of our energy and our time on tasks that are perceived as urgent when they're actually not. And by focusing on tasks that are just not important and not urgent, this can really lead to us missing deadlines on the urgent tasks, and also it could have a negative effect of people relying on you to complete tasks in the future. So Covey suggests that the ultimate habit is to focus on those tasks that are the most important but not urgent. The key here is not to prioritize your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. And by focusing on those tasks that are not urgent but important, it can really help you build healthy relationships and also help in terms of forward planning and preparing for times where you might have to get tasks done via a deadline. So when we put more time on these tasks, it means that we are thinking ahead and also preventing crisis. So the fourth habit is all about having a win-win mentality. By having a win-win mentality, it will not only establish effective interdependent relationships, but it will also mean that both parties win. People with a win mentality don't want someone else to lose. In fact, that is just irrelevant. What matters is that they get what they want and they mutually benefit. So a person with a win-win mentality believes that there's more out there for everyone to succeed, rather than having that mentality where everything is scarce and there's only one winner at the end of the day. And not only will having a win-win attitude really just help you in terms of you benefiting mutually in terms of that situation, but it can really just help you in terms of your own personal development. So for instance, if you know of a competitor who is doing similar to what you're doing, why not, instead of having that negativity towards them, why not try and think of ways of where you can mutually benefit from the same situation? You could do a collaboration and work together to achieve the same goal. So the fifth habit that I've learned is first to understand and then to be understood. Communication is the most important skill that we can learn in life. We spend years and years learning how to read, learning how to write, learning how to speak, but often we forget all about listening. Often when we're having a conversation, we're always looking to put our point across and we forget to listen to that other person and think about what they're saying. It's very easy when you're having a discussion with somebody to not listen to what they're actually saying and just pick up on snippets of what they're saying and relating it back to you, and also trying to think of other ways to engage in that conversation and thinking about what you're going to say next. And by doing this, you can really just miss out on some really key important things that the other person is saying. This habit is so important because it reminds me of really just engaging in a conversation and listening to what that person is trying to say and trying to also learn from it. So the sixth habit is all about synergize. So have you ever heard of the phrase, 2 heads are better than one? I have a million times, and I can say for a fact that this is true. Often when we have a task, we sometimes forget about including other people and working as a team. But by doing this, it can really just open new opportunities, new creative ideas, and make your work a lot easier. By sharing an idea with another person, it can just really help in terms of creating that synergy. And not only will this allow you to open up new ideas and think about the other person's perspective and share solutions, it can also uncover new possibilities in terms of creativeness and the way that your focus will go in terms of achieving that task. Working as a team just to run past your ideas or just to sense check things can really just help you gain someone else's perspective And it can also help evaluate the way that you're processing something. So they might have another idea or have a better solution in mind that can just help you and elevate the thing that you were trying to do in the first place. A good way of implementing the synergy habit is by making a list of people who you can really depend on their opinions and that means something to you. By just writing that list down and just sharing those ideas with these people can really just elevate an idea and lift it up even more. And the last habit, which is something that I absolutely love and live by, is sharpening the saw. So by this, what I mean is, to be effective, we have to devote some time in improving ourselves, whether this be renewing ourselves mentally, physically, socially, and spiritually. In terms of my physical goals, I always make sure that I'm eating well at least 85% of the time, and that I take sufficient rest and feel relaxed before I start a task, and also make sure that I'm exercising on a regular basis just to keep my health and my well-being maintained. In terms of spiritual goals, I try to practice meditation on a daily basis. In terms of mental health, I always try to read or do a challenging crossword, and I also keep a journal of my thoughts. And in terms of social goals, I've always tried to build really long-lasting relationships and also collaborate with other people in terms of my ideas and just try and help other people in the process. So if you're thinking of implementing this habit to your daily life, you can start today. I would suggest of making a list of activities that you want to work on in terms of those 4 aspects of your life. At the end of the week, you can look back on your performance and just evaluate where you succeeded or where you can improve. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching.